Hey y'all, it's Nathan Reinhardt with eXp Realty. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to run through the market data for March 2024 for the Woodlands, Texas. We're going to compare it to some of the data to 2023 and some of it I'll give you context of 2019 as well. We'll run through the active, pending, and sold data, as well as kind of the number of showings you should expect for your home regardless of the list price. And then we'll take a look at what it all means. If you're new to my channel, my name is Nathan Reinhardt. I'm a realtor here in North Houston. If you have any questions about the data that I'm sharing here today or the Woodlands or any market here in North Houston, don't hesitate to give me a call, shoot me a text, or you can just hop on my calendar. The link will be in the description here down below. Since y'all are here today to kind of check out what the data looks like for the Woodlands, Texas, let's go ahead and hop right in. For the data today, I'm going to break it out into 3 different categories. I'm going to do 0 to 1 million, 1 million to 2 million, and 2 million plus. And that way we can just kind of keep the outliers in check so that you can get kind of a more realistic picture of what's truly going on currently here in this market. There is a couple, what I would call surprising statistics if you haven't been following the market here. The first section that we'll look at is $0 to $1 million. Right now we have 94 active properties in the 0 to 1 million. And yes, this changes daily, so it'll move around a little bit, but nothing crazy. We have 23 option pending and 82 pending currently. And then for the month of March, we had 84 single family homes sell. For the sold data, the average sales price was $621,000 with the average days on market being 37. For active stats, for 2023, there were 108 active listings. For 2019, just for context, there were 582. So clearly over the course of time, we used to have quite a bit more inventory, just kind of like anywhere else in the United States currently. But for the Woodlands specifically, year on year, we're very similar amount of inventory. It kind of matters how you calculate the inventory, about whether it came on the market active during the month and then went pending, or if it's just the active number of listings that are just truly available today. Total active listings for the month of March were 108 versus 118 for last year. If you take a snapshot here on April 2nd, there's only 94 active listings that are currently available. 2023 versus 2024, the average sale price is very similar. 621 versus 614. And the days on the market, 37 this year was 45 last year for the sold properties. Just for context, days on market. The reason days on market matters so much, whether you're a buyer or a seller, has to do with the amount of leverage that you have in the transaction. Take for instance, you're a buyer and I take you out looking at properties and walk you through a house and you're like, Nate, I love this house. I want to buy it. And I say to you, well, it's only been on the market one day. The question is like, what kind of offer do you have to write if you want to buy that house specifically and it's been on the market one day? The answer, and I'm sure you know it, is you got to write a really good one. In this market, that could be a full asking offer. It could be over asked, just depends on the situation. Let's say the opposite occurs. I take you out and I'm showing you houses and you're like, Nate, I love this house. This is the one I want. And we look at each other and I'm like, awesome. This one's been on the market for 97 days. I mean, truthfully, you know that you're gonna at least try to get a deal out of it invites a lower offer. At that point, the buyer has the leverage in the particular equation. Now, it does matter. You have to know what the number of average days on market is for what you're comparing it to. If the average days on market is 12, well, at 97 days, you have a pretty good advantage as a buyer. If the average number of days on market is 45 and it's been on the market for one day, well, the leverage is with the seller. So just something to keep in context. And it's not just the offer that you write. It has to do with the negotiations that would happen after inspections, as well as if there happened to be an appraisal issue. I know that's a kind of a side conversation, but it is why the days on market really play into what the actual property, the negotiation ability, whether you're the buyer or the seller, regardless, in this equation. Second price bracket that we'll talk about here is $1 million to $2 million. There are currently 20 active properties in the $1 to $2 million price point. There are 10 that are option pending, which is a pretty big number here to have had happen here in the last week or so. There are 14 pending, and for the month of March, we had 12 sales. For context, 2024 to 2023, we had 12 sales this year. There were 15 sales last year, so not a huge change in the actual number, but percentage-wise, it's a decent, adjustment. The average list price for 2024 is a little over 1.4 million. A year ago, it was just under 1.3, 1.28. The average days on market for the sold properties here for 2024 is 27 days. And if we look back to 2023, the average days on market was only 11 in this price point. The list to sold price ratio for the last 2 years also hasn't changed much. We're still selling about 99% of the original list price. When we look at the $2 million plus price point, we have a less number of properties to consider. Begin to get a little bit skewed just based upon what's available and what actually closes. Right now for 2024, in the month of March, there were 32 active listings versus 22 last year. We had 3 sales in the month of March versus 2 last year. The average days on market was 109 this year. It was 143 in 2023. The sold price to list, 96% for 2024. And there obviously was one that sold significantly cheaper than the list price last year because it shows up as 89% last year. All right, and the second group of data that I'd like to run through here with you has to do with the showing data. And it just gives us an idea of where the buyers are right now. Like where are they showing up? What price point are they searching for? Which homes are the greatest competition? And I don't care if you're a buyer or seller, you need to know before you start looking if you're in a highly competitive price point or if you happen to be in one of the price points that doesn't have as many showings. So as we look at the market that's $0 to $1 million, the interesting data points for me are the cheaper homes are getting less showings per listing than the more expensive ones. And that wasn't the case last year. Between $200,000 and $300,000 and $300,000 and $400,000, the homes are only getting 5 or 6 showings per listing. A year ago, they were getting between 10 and 12, depending on the exact price bracket there at the front per listing for the month of March. All those numbers are really good. They're plenty for people to see a home and get it sold, but I wouldn't expect the cheapest properties to see a drop in showings per listing. For the month of March, the $400,000 to $500,000 price bracket saw the greatest number of showings per listing at almost 11 showings per listing. And then right beneath it, the 700, 800, and the 800 to 900,000 also were getting just over 10 showings per listing. Overall context though, and I think it matters the most here is what is it relative to last year? And we're going to see a kind of an interesting relationship develop here. Last year, there were 3,600 showings in this price point for the month of March. This year, there's only 3,146 showings for the month of March. So we're down about 15% overall in the number of showings during the month. As you'll see, that doesn't play out as we go to the higher price brackets. And I think if you really delved into the numbers that you would find out the decrease in the 200 to 300,000 price bracket into 400, it's driving the majority of the discrepancy year on year. The question is that there's less investors? Are there fewer first-time home buyers or starter homes or downsizers this year? Shouldn't be fewer downsizers. So it's either that there's less investment people coming in to look at the properties, or there just are fewer people who can afford to buy the smaller starter home here in the Woodlands. As we move up to the $1 to $2 million price bracket, kind of like a interesting aside here, I'm looking at the data in a $250,000 price brackets for this $1 million. The vast majority of the showings are in the 1 to 1.25. However, like I did break it down and look a little bit narrower as well. Almost all of them are $1 million to 1.1. So we know there's quite a bit of inventory that's locked in, priced right in that range, and that's where they're getting a lot of people showing up and taking a look at the properties currently. You're getting almost 20 showings per listing in that price point, which, if you're a seller, that's pretty amazing. If you're a buyer, you're facing some pretty stiff competition at what feels like to me, and I'm sure to you, a expensive price point. Overall, from 1 to 1.25, you're getting a little over 15 showings per listing. Between 1.25 and 1.5, you're getting 12 showings per listing. And 1.5 to 1.75, you're averaging right around 9 showings per listing. And then when you go 1.75 up to 2, it drops off for whatever reason. Probably not currently. It doesn't have the most desirable listings in that price point. So at that, you're only getting a little over 4 showings per listing for the month of March. Year on year, we have 607 showings this year in March 2024 versus we only had 480 in 2023. So we actually have moved up a decent amount here, 26% more showings year on year. It probably makes sense. We've had price creep, stuff that was 900,000 bumped up to $1 million, at least what they're asking, and it's getting the most of the views, that sort of thing. As well as like at that price point, people aren't quite as price sensitive or as concerned about interest rates as they would be at the $300,000 to $500,000 range, where the interest rates have a huge impact on what you can afford and what you can even afford to take a look at. As we go above and go to the $2 to $3 million range, the interest rates should have very little effect. Not that people aren't borrowing money, but if you're borrowing money on some of those properties, you can afford whatever the interest rate hit is for you. You have your money working in other spots that earn you more than whatever the interest rate is hitting you for. For the month of March 2024, we had 133 showings over $2 million. And if you compare that with last year, there was only 66 showings above $2 million. So we have like 100% more showings, which pretty crazy. It also goes along with the idea that we do have more listings there at that price point as well currently. From 2 to 2.5, you got a little over 5 showings per listing. From 2.5 to 3, you had 3.5 showings per listing. From 3 to 3.5, it bumps back up to 4.5 showings per listing. And then over 3.5 million, the data I have says that it drops back down to right at 2.5 showings per listing. So regardless of the price point that we look at, whether it's the 0 to 1 million, where we have 105 properties in the combination of option pending and pending currently, or the $1 to $2 million where we have 24 in that same option pending to pending category, or the $2 million plus where we have 5 that are either option pending or pending currently. It gives a pretty decent picture that the market's been pretty busy here, at least the last few weeks. Values haven't come off. There's some conflicting data in there, as the slowdown on the number of showings on the cheaper price points versus the kind of the picking up as you get a little more expensive. Like, what's it mean for the Woodlands market overall? My personal bias here is that being an election year, kind of anything can happen. If interest rates come off, prices are going to bump again, and that starts at the cheaper and it works its way up. If all of a sudden somebody could lock in a 6% loan, you'd see all the cheaper properties snapped up again, just because people could afford the monthly payment once again. Definitely something for us to keep our eyes on and see what kind of unfolds here as we go through the spring. The Woodlands is a pretty seasonal market, as you can imagine. A lot of the buys and sells occur during the summer season when the kids are out of school. So we expect the market to pick up regardless. Prices as a whole, there is no inventory. So if we talk about the fact that there's no inventory, kind of regardless, if the buying activity picks up any more than normal, there'll be a crunch and people will be racing for houses again. If it doesn't happen, it's still really small. We're still 1.5 to 2.5 months of inventory. Kind of depends on the price point we're talking about. Once again, my name is Nathan Reinhardt. Thanks for sticking with me through the market report here. If there's anything else that you're curious about or you'd like to see, just let me know and I'll add it to the next report. I'll respond and get you an answer right away. Have a great day.